Hey everybody, Nicole Sauce here with our weekly homestead update. Thanks for joining the live stream. You can see I've got my homestead hairstyle on today on the video, and it's the bun on the top of the head. A lot of us end up, well, we put off getting our hair cut. Next thing you know, your hair's down to your butt, right? And then it's in your way all the time. So boom, the bun on the top of the head. I was pretty amused when we had Gabby on with Matt and Gabby from they were Sovereign Village Project was their original name, but they've changed it now. Homesteading for a Living is their new channel. I'm removing Float from the sorry Float, you cannot be here. But my Float has not worked since they relaunched their system. I got to figure that out. So we're streaming today on Odyssey and YouTube. I'm only seeing comments on YouTube at the moment. I'll see if I can get Odyssey up, and we're going to do a homestead update. If you've joined the live stream, just let everybody know. And good morning, Michael, Corey, John, Martinson family. I'm glad you joined us today. It's been kind of a fun little week here, and a lot of you know what that's like. Okay, we're getting Float up. All right. Yep, you caught alive. I can't even read your name. TSL is on. So I will try to keep track of Odyssey questions as well. If you guys have comments or questions or things you want to know more about on the live stream, just put all caps, right? So that I know what's up. And now we're just going to run into the podcast. I'm going to give a little break this time so that I can have an easy Friday and just pop this audio into GarageBand and produce the audio after this is done. Hi, Carrie. You're on the way. Yeah, Carrie's coming to the homestead today. Okay, let's do it. Let's do this podcast, right? Good morning, David Johnson. Welcome to Living Free in Tennessee, where we talk about building the life you choose on your terms. Today is Friday, April 15th, 2022, and this is episode 558 of Living Free in Tennessee. And today is a homestead update day. I've gotten a lot of feedback about this that y'all like them. So we're just going to keep doing the Friday update. To put these notes together, I have to have a morning meeting, and the torture is it's over coffee, right? So I sit outside, have a coffee, talk to Tactical about what he worked on, because while we live on the same property, he's doing stuff, I'm doing stuff, and sometimes it's just stuff is getting done and we haven't done this great strategic approach to the whole thing. Well, it is kind of strategic. We know the big picture, but we have different areas of responsibility, and he's seen some different things. So we're going to talk a little bit about rabbits today, how the slow spring is unfolding on this homestead, homesteads and water. This is a big one because I've been watching a friend look for land, and they're really worried about if I don't have a spring on the property, what do I do? Well, there are things you can do in Tennessee. And I just wanted to talk about the importance of water skills. Before we jump into our usual segments, I also, so there's a rumor that food shortages are coming. Have you heard that? Yeah, there's a rumor about that. And it might happen, guys. And because the president has said it and other people in enough ways, and because it's feasible that it could be some serious shortages, there is a huge pressure people are feeling to produce food off their homesteads. And I'm getting emails from people who are completely new to homesteading, who are like, how do I produce the most food possible? I want to add cows. I want to add pigs. I want to add, list of things. How do I get going? I know, Letty, food shortages, time to panic, buy all the food. That's right. And the thing is, when you're starting on a homestead, I don't know how to say this super nicely, but it's a lot of skills, right? People watch homesteading channels, and a lot of the homesteading channels make it look easy and look all like flowers and happiness and, cute little baby goats. And that happens. Beautiful things happen on the homestead. I know Mike Vertreese is on here, and I know he knows what happens if you have pigs and you don't have your fencing all in order, and you are off site for much of the week for your day job that earns the money so that on the weekends you can do the things. He knows exactly what happens. Yeah, they get out, and if you're not home to put them back in, they're out. And when pigs are out, they are destructive. So I was talking to a few different people, and one person was like, wow, if we're going to feed our family of 11 on this piece of property we're thinking about buying, we're going to have to do it with rabbits. And I was like, it doesn't matter the property you're buying. If you want to ramp up food on a short-term timeline, rabbits are one thing you can choose. It's a really good choice. It's not the only thing. Like quail, all sorts of smaller, quick to ramp up animals are going to be a better bet, right, than raising a steer, because a steer takes a couple of years and a rabbit takes a couple of months. So which one, if you're facing shortages, where would you put your focus? And if you screw up on something like a rabbit, you can restart. We're going to talk a little bit about that later, because I screwed up on my rabbits, right? And that overwhelm is making decisions out of fear rather than focusing on what's important, which is, how do I do this in a way that fits with my lifestyle? How do I do this in a way that makes sense and sets me up for success? Yeah, Michael says, Angela and I now have 3 additional team members on our Tennessee permaculture farm. Exactly. Helping hands really helps. That's why we have hauler neighbors. I mean, it's not what motivated us to be hauler neighbors, but once we had hauler neighbors, everything got easier because there were multiple of us to do it. I like cows. They are giant grass puppies. So once you have the habit set for smaller livestock, it's easier to go bigger. And that was the other thing to think about. If you've never done livestock before, bigger is harder. A cow that outweighs you by like 10 times or more is way harder to deal with if you need them to do something and they don't want to do it than a chicken, a duck, a rabbit, quail, like any of those littler animals. And then from there, goats and sheep weigh like 150 pounds or less. Much easier to deal with that. Pigs, the smaller breeds like the AGHs, are going to be easier to move than my 650 pound Idaho pasture pig. Okay. So if you're just getting into homesteading and you're thinking about it and you're like, oh my gosh, shortages, like concentrate on your zone 1. If you haven't listened to Jack Spirko at the Survival Podcast's recent series on permaculture, he has a 5-part series, just introduction to permaculture, talking about different aspects of it. He does it on YouTube with slides. You can listen to the audio podcast. Go to survivalpodcast.com, type in permaculture, and you'll see part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. And if you search it, like part 4 comes up first or something. Or if you go to his YouTube channel, and if you've never thought about permaculture, listen to those while you're doing stuff, and it will change your perspective on how you analyze your homestead away from traditional, like I'm going to call it conventional farming, where you have to use all the inputs and all the equipment, to setting up systems that work for you, so you're not just working all the time and not getting stuff out of it. Also, to set yourself up for better success via like not making a huge mistake of putting a cow on your property that your property can't sustain, and then you have to bring in grain, and then they're out of grain. And Michael says cows, especially if you can lead them with a grain bucket. Yeah, if you train your animals to be led by food, you're super lucky. In fact, last week I told you my giant pig got out of her pasture, and she was walking up, and somebody had just driven up, and he's getting out, and he's like, oh, your pig is out. And I was like, why don't you stay in the truck? Because I didn't know what she was going to do to a stranger. I just know what she's not probably going to charge me, because she never has. And then he was like, okay. I'm like, she's big. Like, let me deal with this. And then I walked, and she paid me no mind, because she knows who I am. Like, she sees me every day. I went down to her feed bucket and got a scoop of grain. And she was like, oh, food. And I was like, yeah, food. Let's walk in here on the other side of this gate. Poured it in her dish. And she's like, sweet, I have corn. And I closed the gate, and she was back in, right? if your animals have been trained to do that, that's great. But sometimes they are not motivated by that, especially if you've not spent any time doing that. I had a friend with horses, and his horse got out, and I could not, because their horses just like ran free on the pastures. Right. The horse would not go back in. I was like, here's some grain. It was like, screw you, lady. Finally, I came home and I was like, what? The horse is like, I got sugar. I got oats. I got flour. I was like, I don't know. And I started trying all these things. And it turned out the horse really liked sugar. And so I was able to lead the horse back in. But if I'm not leading that horse, I'm certainly not pushing that horse anywhere it doesn't want to go. So if you're starting out on homesteads, just realize bigger animals are harder. And if you've never worked with them before, at least go out and see other people raising these animals and give them a hand and see what it's like. Like, learn how to put sheep on their back. That's what we got to learn when we're getting sheep. Dawn is coming down to show us that. She's coming down with the herd to help us get started. And those aren't even very big. It's not like a gigantic cow, like a 1,500-pound animal. Like, how are you going to move that? Yeah. Brent says rabbits and quail, easy peasy, lots of production. Right. Quail are producing eggs within what, 9 weeks? You've got protein in 9 weeks if you get a baby quail today coming off those quail. And they're something you can keep in an urban environment because they live in cages. There's something that are relatively easy to feed, although you're going to have to find external feed. But I have a friend who feeds them on black soldier flies larvae. I didn't know they ate that, but okay. So there's lots of different, and you can grow grasses for them, like indoor grasses. Good morning, Philippines Nomad. Great to see you. And then the other thing that came out of y'all. So first of all, if you're feeling panicked about food, like in summary, and you're moving out to the land, really focus on your zone 1 in permaculture, which is near your house. If you're going to get started in livestock and you've never done livestock, start small. Start with quail, chickens, ducks, something like that. Rabbits. Rabbits produce a lot of meat. You have to be willing to kill the rabbit. And if you don't know if you can, go find somebody with a rabbit, ask them to show you how to process it. Process the rabbit. Cook the rabbit, eat the rabbit, and then decide if you're doing rabbits. Rabbits live on grass. Now, if you only put your rabbits on grass, some of them are going to die until you get genetics going where they're used to all grass and no rabbit pellets. So just know that unless you get rabbit stock that's already been trained that way, the way you develop that is you tractor them. If you're going to tractor a rabbit, there needs to be underneath rabbit mesh because they will dig out. And the ones that live are the ones you breed. And then it's a 4 to 5 week gestation period when you breed a rabbit. And then you got baby rabbits. Within a week or two of that, you can breed that rabbit again. I think it's a week or two. Maybe it's a month. I can't remember. We've never gotten to that stage because we'll tell you why later. But they are easy. And that's kind of cool. Hello from Southern Indiana on Odyssey. Hello. Okay. The other thing I did, because I asked for feedback last week, like, what do you want to hear about? And somebody said, do you ever do video tours of the holler? And the answer is I haven't done live video tours of the holler because it's big and I'm not sure my network will handle that. So what I'm going to do this weekend, or maybe today because the sun's out, it's going to rain this weekend, I'll do a video tour. I'm going to show you the good, the bad, and the stinky. Because I've got pigs here who are not rotating. I'm going to show you what happens when you don't rotate pigs. It's not pretty and it doesn't smell good, and it's making me rethink the pigs. When I get to the livestock station area, just remember I said this at the beginning, so I'm not going to say it again. I've decided get rid of the pigs, keep the pigs. Get rid of the pigs, keep the pigs. I like pork. They make good pork. But to keep a breeding male and a female is expensive from an input standpoint. And I will show you what they have done to my pasture. And the reason they've only done it to the pasture is because I haven't rotated them through my whole 3 acres because I didn't want my whole 3 acres to look like that, because 3 acres isn't enough for these pigs. Not my 3 acres, not with the amount of rain we're getting here. So I just told Tactical this morning, I'm really rethinking this keeping the pigs thing. And he said, wait till after the workshop, Nicole. And part of the issue is it stinks, and I don't want it to stink at the workshop. So if anybody wants to come scoop some chips on that, come on out. Anyway, he said, wait till after the workshop. I have some places we can rotate them around the holler neighbors because there's a pond that we need them to go help us with and some other stuff. He said, I'll talk to you about that after the workshop, and then we'll figure it out. Because I've been talking to somebody about leasing the forest and just like tiptoeing through the forest with the pigs, but we've never finalized the agreement. I've finalized the agreement for the sheep next door. He doesn't want pigs there. So yeah, somebody's saying, just think of the pig craters as future tree planting holes. Thank you, Adam. Also, I'd like to say back on the rabbits, if you're feeling urgent and you want to add a rabbitry, Mike says $1 and 3 does equals about 900 pounds of meat a year when optimized. You're not going to be optimized if you do it yourself for the first time, but even if you have a 50% success rate, 450 pounds of meat is a lot of meat. And no, you're not going to die because you don't get enough fat, because you're going to figure that out, and you're probably actually feeding them. Nicole, can you get tree trimming companies to dump their chips in the pig pen? No. I can get them to dump them near the pig pen if they show up. It has been 2 years since the tree trimmers have come through here. And I did reach out to the local arborists, and one of them was going to come one day and then never showed up. I think it's because my road's narrow. And I will get them. I do know where I can get wood chips. It's just that they have to be hand loaded because I don't have a little tractor I can throw on a trailer to go scoop them in. And we haven't dedicated the time to that. And then when we were ready to, Tactical's truck broke. So I don't have anything to move the wood chips with at this moment because his truck has been at the shop for 3 weeks. What we did do down there is we got a roll of hay, and we rolled it out. And that did great for a while, but then we've had so many inches of rain that it's muck again. And it's going to be muck because that's what they're doing, right? They're working in. Somebody says rabbits do not live on grass. They are not pasture animals. They're wood edge animals. They will venture to grass sometimes, but they live in the savanna-ish area. Good point, John. I know that you can train them to live on grass only and rotate it, though. So that's what I'm saying. If I need to grab some forage from the woods, I will. I mean, I throw green things in their cages anyway. We don't tractor our breeders right now. The breeders are breeders. Rabbits, Brent says rabbits are great raw dog food too. Yes. And Brent, I got your email. Thank you for that. We're probably going to read that on the show next week about feeding your dogs raw, because Brent is feeding his dogs raw, which is pretty cool because we're looking at moving our dogs to raw here. And he was talking about how he worked it in to his rotation. Okay, so video tours are coming. It'll be pre-recorded. Just keep your eye on the YouTube channel, and I'm going to show you the shit. I'm just saying. That's what I'm going to show you. I'm also going to show you some good stuff because there's some beautiful stuff here. But I don't... Wow. Blink. I don't like to hide what really happens. So... because, you know, if you're making the decision to homestead, you want to know about the awesome parts, but I think you need to know about the frustrating parts so you don't get out there and then you're faced with your first injured goat who has a big old rip on her shoulder. And you're like, I didn't know I was going to have blood everywhere and have to care for this animal for 3 weeks while they got better. So aren't rabbits an incredibly expensive way to feed dogs? Not if you don't have to give a bunch of external inputs, Mike. Like they breed and then you have rabbits, and I guess like they don't take that much time based on our experience here. So then at that point, when I'm getting, 6 or 8 rabbits every time somebody gives birth to rabbits, it's not that bad. Yeah, life, death, and poop happens 2 weeks before Sue takes over Nicole's social media. Get ready. That's right. It's going to be fun. Zoldak is coming to the holler for the spring workshop. Okay, so let's get into our first segment. We're going to talk about forage, what we're finding on the land. And the truth of the matter is, I've been super focused on pre-cooking workshop food, getting ready for the spring workshop. Self-Reliance Festival, selfreliancefestival.com, is a part-time job at this point because it's gotten that big that fast. Okay. Mama Sauce is helping me, but I have not spent as much time as I like to walking outside. And yesterday we were like, okay, at 4:00, no matter what we're in the middle of, we're going to go and we're going to get watercress and we're going to do all this cool stuff because we haven't really spend enough time outside. And at 4:30, we actually got that done. At 4 o'clock, I'm like, it's time. And then she's like, but one more thing to each other for about half an hour. And then we went out and foraged a salad. And what's out there right now is watercress, mustard flower, same as last week, dead nettle, chickweed, but hairy vetch is up. So hairy vetch, it kind of tastes like peas. And it puts out, like, if you get it when it's really young, it doesn't have a weird mouthfeel. But if you let it get too old, it's got like hairy things on the leaves, which is not, it's super palatable. But it grows here wild. I have actually sprinkled some seeds to get more of it going, and it is up and ready for harvest. It puts out purple flowers, which makes the salad look really pretty. Then we got green onions coming off the aquaponics system. We've got lettuce in the aquaponics system. And coming soon, my strawberries have flowers and little teeny unripe berries, which means soon we're going to have some strawberries. The sad thing about the strawberry situation here is, with all of the hillside garden work we did, I have 2 strawberry plants at the moment. There are some others like in the weeds somewhere, but I've got 2 viable strawberry plants that I'll be training to spread out as ground cover. And only one of them has fruit on it right now. The other one hasn't started flowering. So we're not going to get a ton of strawberries, but we'll get a few to augment things with. And I'll probably do what I do as a homesteader when I'm not growing something as well as I'd like. Buy some from a friend. Because strawberry season is fun during strawberry season. Even though I'm keto, I eat strawberries, guys, when they're coming on. So that's the forage in the area. The second thing is livestock. I've already been talking a bit about livestock at the beginning, just because all the things was happening, right? But here's what we're doing with our goats. The goats' hooves need trimming after the winter. I didn't really keep up on it. I noticed that they're basically, it's like fingernails growing, only it's the hoof and you cut them. If you don't, stuff gets up in there and you can get a foot infection. So probably this afternoon, but maybe, so I'm doing this podcast. I'm doing my roasting orders for the day, have a call with the Willises. Then we're going to town to get supply run for the workshop with Mama Sauce. Once that's done, there should still be daylight and I will do hooves. Hooves will take me less than 10 minutes because I only have one animal to do because the other animal is still not letting me touch her. If we catch her, though, we're doing her hooves. So that's just like, whenever we catch her, let me know. Put her on her back. We're going to do her hooves. She will not be happy, and she probably won't let us touch her for another year. But is what it is. She's actually missing a collar, too. She managed to take her collar off, so she's a little harder to catch. I failed with rabbits. So we bred the rabbits about a month and a half ago. And last week, I told you we had a door malfunction. One got out, and it died. That one was probably pregnant. We didn't dissect it. The other one, we're like, where are the bunnies? Where are the bunnies? Where no bunnies? Here's how rabbitries also work. She's had one batch of kits and they died. And that's not unusual for the first batch of kits. Like the mom's like, what do? I don't know how to take care of them. They die. This was the second time we tried. We thought she was pregnant. She was not pregnant. She gets one more chance and then she becomes a meat rabbit. So we're going to breed her again and see if she does. Meanwhile, the other breeder that we have we bred that rabbit last week. So we'll know mid-May. If by mid-May there are not bunnies, then we're going to be like Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, right? So that's happening with the rabbits. And that's what I mean by you can fail at rabbits. It looks like they didn't breed. Or it didn't take, or the rabbit's no longer getting pregnant for whatever reason, or they're not good at rearing their kits. So if you have on the second pregnancy, they still kill them or they die one more time. And if that rabbit hasn't done it, this is the hard part of homesteading or setting, because by that time you're like, I've petted its head. It's either dog food or it's people food, but you don't want to just have a really expensive pet. So yeah. Okay. All the eggs. The irony of all the eggs is that there are egg shortages at the store. Egg prices are going up. Some stores have egg areas looking slim. It's also Easter weekend. So people have been buying more eggs and hard boiling them and coloring them and hiding them in the yard. So there's that. But there's also the whole avian flu thing going on. I don't know how much that actually has added to this or not. I just know that for the last week and a half or so, I am hearing from people about I couldn't get enough eggs at the store. They had a buy limit on them, blah, blah, blah. And the irony of this is that everybody I know who raises poultry right now has too many eggs. For me, it's not a problem. I've got like 70 people coming to my house in 2 weeks who all want breakfast. They're going to get eggs. So I'm putting eggs aside for them. And I will not have an egg surplus problem. But this is how disconnected our food is, right? There are shortages at the store. There are people who want eggs, and there are people in the middle who have the eggs for sale, and somehow that connection isn't happening. And I feel like I just want to scream, like, put your signs out, put bulletin boards up, something, get the word out, because, you know, there's no reason to go without eggs if all the farmers around you are like, I'm starting to feed my eggs to the pigs because they're going to go bad and I don't want them to go bad, so I need to return the surplus. Okay. Yeah, and I already told you I'm conflicted over pigs, so as I said, we're not talking about that here. The next segment is grow. This is where we just talk about what we're growing on the farm, separate from livestock, so it's more the plants. And the seed, I told you guys, like I was super late getting my seedlings started. I got them started last week and everything started germinating except for the lettuce, which I really wanted to serve at the workshop. That ain't happening. So the lettuce did not germinate. I did an update on YouTube and the tomatoes were coming on. Of course, the first one to pop up was the Siegler Striped, which is a tomato that my buddy left here in my aquaponics system when he built it for me. And I've been saving seeds from it ever since. All of my tomatoes germinated except for my paste tomatoes. And then a friend reached out and said, do you need any tomatoes? I have extra tomatoes. Mostly paste tomatoes. I was like, yes, I need paste tomatoes in particular. So I have it covered. Well, today I looked out there and like in my, because I'm only doing, 6 varieties of 6. So 36 plants if they all come out. And the reason I'm only doing 36 plants is I did 20 and got close to 130 pounds of tomatoes last year. My goal is 200 pounds of tomatoes. So I think I can take care of 36 plants. One year I did 140 plants and I got fewer tomatoes than when I'd done like 10 plants the year before. So just, bigger is not always better. But I have a plan for 36 plants. And if I get 40 plants, then 4 of those plants are going to other people. Anyway, I look in there. 1 paste tomato in my 6-pack has come up now, which is hilarious. And then I've been like fretting over the peppers because I got a pepper plant last spring at Jack Spirko's. And what he has is a variety of jalapeno that he's been saving seeds for years from. I think starting in Pennsylvania or something. He started choosing the plant that had the jalapeno flavor without as much heat. So this may seem counterintuitive to those of you who like hot peppers. He wanted it less hot, but more jalapeno-y flavory, right? And that's because I think in part he doesn't want super spicy, and his wife doesn't want super spicy. But his jalapenos, if you don't have the seeds, so you cut it so the seeds are out, and then you make a stuffed jalapeno popper or something that you grill, are fantastic because it just infuses that unique flavor in there. And I had this plant. I nurtured this 1 pepper plant. And I was like, we must save seeds off this plant. And I saved seeds off that plant. I only got 6 seeds. But Tactical had also saved seeds off that. He got a bunch of seeds off it. And the reason I only got 6 seeds is as we were going into the fall, I got really busy. And then it was like, it's the last pepper. I better get that pepper, right? So my bad. But my goal is to train this jalapeno to do well on my property because I'm not Texas. And so it's been with great anxiety that I am watching this 1 6-pack of Jack Spirko jalapeno variety and seeing if it will germinate. And 3 days ago, all the other peppers germinated and that one didn't. And I was like, I'm going to cry. And then I was talking to Tactical yesterday. And he said, oh, that was the first one that germinated in my seed setup system because he's doing his own seedlings. And I was like, great, because I want all of the Jack Spirko peppers this year so we can start picking and choosing based on flavor which ones to save for next year, right? And have some variety. And he's like, oh, yeah, no problem. I got 6. I'm like, I want like half of them if you're not going to grow them all. He's like, no problem. Because I'll put them in my aquaponics system, which is a really great place. Like I have this one bed that's a wicking bed that does really well for peppers. So there's going to be a Spirko in there. Then today I looked at my seedling system and half the lettuce has now germinated and the other half still hasn't germinated. And we're on day like 8 or 9 of this system being up. And my first Spirko pepper has come up. Wow! So there's pretty good chance if we keep these plants alive that we are going to have that variety. In fact, if I have extra peppers, I'll put it out to the local network in case folks want to tap into that. Joel Salatin is doing grass only. John Willis, I think, is doing grass only. I know a bunch of people. Nick Ferguson is doing grass only. He's using a tractor on grass. So as you know, there's like clover and a lot of other things in there. Sorry, this whole rabbit discussion about grass. You can train them. You will kill a lot of rabbits in the process unless you have them already. So here's one. Deborah says, I bought veggies from a lady that gets her plants from local Mennonites. They produce really well in just a couple of plants, and that plant sold at store are designed not to. Yeah, so the varieties that you get from the Amish and the Mennonites and from other homesteaders in your area tend to be the ones we like because the production's good or we like the flavor. The number of peppers I got off that jalapeno plant from Spirko were tons. And then I did end up preserving some for the winter for like use in stews and stoops. Anyway, so that's cool. I put all of my old peas out on my rock wall garden that if you've been following me on social, you always see me put a picture of my coffee looking at like my peaceful morning spot when it's not raining is out there. And so where the dirt comes, there's rock and then it comes down again. And I was like, well, this would be cool. I don't care if I get peas off these, but they could kind of, the vines, like the picture in my head, the vines could flow over the rocks and it would look so pretty. And I've got all these old packets of peas that I don't care. So I put them in and one germinated. Having some slow germination, I think it's because we're having a bit of a slow spring. This spring is way slow. I've been looking at documentation. Trees had sprung by now last year. At this point, the willow trees are just starting to put buds on here. Like we're slow to wake up. And in some ways that's good because it means the trees didn't wake up and then just get like schnockered by a late freeze, which we're probably going to have at least one more before the end of the month. And usually what happens is we got bud set and then bam, no fruit, right? So they're telling us slow spring. Well, slow spring's good for me, because I got my broccoli out there. It lights a slow spring. I've got my lettuces out there. They won't bolt as quickly. I've got my cilantro coming on. It won't bolt as quickly. Like all of that stuff is looking good. I have lettuce in the aquaponics system. Why? Because I went and bought lettuce plants from somebody else because mine didn't freaking germinate. But hey, I got lettuce and it does financially work out better than buying $3 heads of lettuce at the store. We're putting in, so I got ground nuts last year. I split them. I spread them out to people in the network here in Tennessee. And I still have this one package, I guess, left that Tactical had down in his workshop. So I'm going to put those in the ground somewhere. The thing about ground nuts is they're like Jerusalem artichokes. Wherever you put them, they're just going to take over. So I've been trying to I don't want them on my hillside garden because I've got other herbs and things there. And I have the ones I'm growing in containers. So this other thing, I think I might take one of my burlap coffee bags and bury it with the ground nuts in it and see if that makes it so I can, this is the Homestead romanticized idea of what's going to happen. I'm going to put ground nuts in the ground with a burlap bag around them. And then come this fall, when it's time to harvest them, I'm just going to lift the bag out and there will be all of the ground nuts, because they're tubers, to eat. So that's the plan. You've heard it here first. I'll let you know how that goes, because probably what you're going to hear in the fall is like, racking, fracking, blah, 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 blah. Can't get the stupid bag out. I had to use a pickaxe. Yeah, I'll let you know how it goes. We're going to try it though. That's how you learn. That's how you learn. You're like, wow, that either worked or that did not work. We are also paying seed roulette. So roulette, like the game where you choose which number or color. I call it seeding roulette because at this time of year, it's probably going to freeze again. It's too soon to put stuff out. And a package of seeds is, $2 to $5, depending on what kind of seeds you're getting. Or if you save seeds, it's save seeds. Most of my seeds this year are saved or old. And I just went out and seeded a bunch of stuff that I shouldn't seed yet. And if it comes up, great. And if it doesn't, I've got a whole bunch of stuff I can seed after Mother's Day when I'm supposed to seed it, because we're supposed to wait till Mother's Day for like the squashes and the green beans and those sorts, and to put the tomatoes out in Tennessee. Well, seed roulette, you can stretch your without adding infrastructure like a high tunnel, you can stretch your season by putting the seeds out, or seedlings that you can afford to lose. You can do it with seedlings too. You put them out, and then that frost comes and they die. And you're like, well, I'm no further behind than I was. You put your other seeds out. So if you have surplus seeds, you just roll it through. And that's a way to kind of tap into the thing in Tennessee, which is that we are on a zone border here, right? We're not zone 6 or 7. We're zone 6, 7. Because we're close enough. There's like this little stripe through. If you look at the zone map, there's a little stripe of 6 that comes through here. And I'm 10 miles from all of it, right? So what that means is some years the frost date behaves like it's zone 6. Some years the frost date behaves like it's zone 7. And what that means is it's either hot too fast if I didn't get stuff in early enough, or it's cold too late if I put stuff in too early. So I play seed roulette because I don't know what zone I'm in right now until nature tells me. And I put it in. If it dies, I put more in. No big deal. I transplant stuff out there. If it dies, whatever. Like, I'm not putting tomatoes out yet, but I may have some out by the spring workshop to just show our tomato grow system to people so they can see what that looks like. Last year, I had the tomatoes out and they were like that tall. And we had a below freezing night at the spring workshop last year. And what I did, because I'm growing those are my hydro ones, brought them inside for the night in a tray, put them back out when it was above freezing again. They did fine. Didn't stress them at all. They didn't care. So that is seed roulette. I'm playing that game. Everybody's playing that game. And then this is really cool. I've never grown wheat before, but we had the pigs like root up a pasture, and I'll show that in like not one of my, I guess it's a tier. I have like my land goes flat and then down and then flat and then down because I'm on a steep hill. So I have some terraces. The bottom terrace, let them root around there and eat all of that grass. And we ended up with nicely tilled soil from the pigs. Well, it was kind of bumpy though. And this is when we had the great fail of all the things. So it's still a little bumpy. And we scattered winter wheat and clover down there. And the wheat is like 1.5 feet tall now, or 1 foot tall. And that's kind of exciting. So we're going to let it go all the way and then harvest the grain and reseed with that next year, plus maybe feed it to some animals. I just thought, let's try it and see what happens, because worst case scenario, I'll just end up with a whole terrace of plantain and clover and whatever grows wild here. But it's going great. So that I'm actually kind of happy with. And we've got annual rye up on the hillside here that we put in, that I don't know if I'm going to let it get that tall, but I could let it get that tall. We'll see. So, okay, that's what's growing. Holler neighbors and community is the next segment. Anything y'all want to know about the holler neighbors? I can tell you what we're doing right now is it's all hands on deck getting ready for the workshop. And I'm looking out my window right now. Tactical Redneck has been working on the outdoor shower rebuild since we ripped it out to put in Taj Mahaler. Now, you may not think an outdoor shower is a homesteading thing, but if you ever had one, you understand that when you're out and you get all mucky and there's an outdoor shower, it's badass, because you can take that shower, get clean, and then come in the house without tracking as much dirt in. Because the other thing about living in the country is it's very easy to track a lot of dirt into your house because the dirt's right outside your door. It's way dirtier than what you track in the city. What's funny to me in the city, like when I'm in New York, I get more like soot on my skin from the air. It's gross. When I wash my face, I'm like, there is like soot coming off my face into the sink. That doesn't happen here. What happens here is I just have mud all over me because it's on my feet from walking around. And the outdoor shower really helps with that. So that'll be up and it's almost complete. And I'm super excited. That's my biggest infrastructure thing. Also, we got a boatload of rain. It was fan-freaking-tastic, like a whole inch overnight one night. And you know what that means? Because we've done all of this earthworks here. We've put in a new retaining wall. We've rerouted how the drainage works, right? And we looked at how it went, and Tactical said, okay, so it mostly worked, but there were a couple of places, and he went out and he tweaked how the water flows work in here. And that means that the system's working, right? So our goal has been to reduce how much water goes, to my house and under it and have it spread out somewhere more useful. Margot says outdoor showers are the bomb. My grandma had one with hot and cold water. We have just cold. Yeah, I have hot and cold water. It's really nice in October when it's a crisp 45 degrees outside at night to go out into the outdoor shower and have a really nice steamy hot shower. That's really awesome. So anyway, Michael, can I get day passes for a couple of people Saturday at LFTN? Email me or hit me up on Facebook. We'll talk about how that'll work because we got some people coming there. I might be able to make space. Just hit me up. And then the other thing we've been doing in infrastructure is there are holes dug and posts set, I think, for a fencing demo at the workshop so people can kind of see how you stretch fence. I don't know if we're doing that, but we're prepared to do that if people want to see it because a lot of people want to see that. And the thing is, when you get a homestead, fencing is like the thing. I think it's like one of two most underrated skills. The other one is water. Yeah, water. Do you know how to maintain your well system? Do you know how to maintain your pump system? Do you know how to do the wiring down there? Do you know how to do the plumbing down there? Do you know how to do plumbing in your house? Water. When you live as far out as I do, it can sometimes take a week to get a plumber to come out. Usually you can get them within 2 days. But if everybody's having water problems at the same time, you might have to wait a week. Nobody wants to go without water for a week. So if you're at home going, I want a homestead, I want to live in the country, I don't know what I can do skills-wise, start learning plumbing. Start learning basics of wiring a fixture and some other things like a receptacle, a plug, right? It's not hard to do. You can get somebody to show you. You're not going to electrocute yourself if you do it right. You're not going to cause a fire if you do it right. And if you get an electrician to show you, he'll do it right, right? Know how to do those things because sometimes you find yourself taking on projects you never thought you'd have to take on. And the big one is your water supply. Now, if you get land that doesn't have water and you need to make water, look into rainwater collection. We actually have Matt from Homesteading for a Living coming to Self-Reliance Festival June 11th and 12th to show you how to collect rain and then use it. And he's showing you how to do the actual plumbing of rain barrels and those sorts of things. So you can collect a lot of rain in Tennessee. Now that's not going to help you everywhere. Rain collection is a storage issue though, right? As far as creating, you can collect it in your soil by having your land set up so that it retains water the way it needs to, but you can also collect it from your roof. And if you live somewhere that only gets an inch of rain a year, the more you can keep it in your soil and keep it in some sort of collection, the more you can use that for water. So think about that. And if you're buying land, be really happy if on inspection day it's raining like a mofo over there, because that shows you all the runoff issues too. But it's a different formula for everybody. But I know somebody who has an off-grid home in Linden, Tennessee, and he's doing all the house water off the roof. And all he did to make that happen was figure out how to collect the water from his roof, put a tank in, and when that tank wasn't big enough, put a second tank for more storage so he can get through a couple months with no additional rain. Now in Tennessee, we get, we'll get 3 inches in a week sometime. We get a lot of rain, so it's really easy to collect here. And I'm just throwing that out there because it's something that's oft overlooked. And every state is different on what their rain collection regulations are. And some states you really can get in trouble by collecting rain. Other states, no big deal. Oregon is famous for going after a farmer for putting ponds in because that was collecting runoff, and that wasn't apparently not allowed without a whole bunch of permitting. Other places, less of an issue, right? And then Mama Sauce is in town. Mama Sauce is in town. That means we're all working twice as hard as we were last week. And it's great to have her here, though. We made sauerkraut yesterday for the workshop. And this weekend, we're having what I'm calling a mini GSD weekend. So I just heard Carrie arrive, and he's helping today with some stuff. We got a couple other friends stopping in to just help with things that could use a couple extra hands, like we're hanging lights under Taj Mahal and a couple other minor things. We're not doing a big GSD weekend because it just didn't seem like, well, A, it's Easter weekend, and B, it didn't seem like. So that the community is being super helpful to me this week. Nancy dropped off bratwurst from her farm for the workshop, and Brian picked them up, and then we're getting them from Brian. And then she happened to have a couple extra refrigerators. I was like, great, because I was about to buy used refrigerators for the workshop, and now I don't have to. So thank you, network. Thank you, network. The final thing is infrastructure. No, we did infrastructure. Finances. I have made zero progress on selling all the pork I have to sell. You know why? You know why. It's because I'm working on the spring workshop, and I want to have it packaged online in a way that makes it clear what you can order and not order, and that requires inventory. I haven't done the inventory. So, and it's in the freezer, so I'm not worried about it going bad. So I think that's going to launch after the workshop. In fact, I know that's going to launch after the workshop, because between now and the workshop, I'm like making beef stew, and I already made the beef stew, sauerkraut, cheeses, all sorts of different things. So that's what's happening there. Yes. Yes. And other than that, I'm not selling anything from the homestead at this time because we're feeding it to everybody. Anyway, that's the update from the Holler Homestead for April 15th. I hope you find these helpful. I try to just tell it as it's happening. And, sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's bad. I can tell you this, in the spring, it is busy. If you like the show and want to support the work I'm doing here, you can do it in two ways. One, get your coffee at hollerroast.com. That's hollerroast.com, HOLLERROAST.com. And then the other way is to become a member. Just head over to Living Free in Tennessee, click on membership, and you can sign up to get access to our webinars and some other cool stuff, recipe of the week. And the last thing I want to say is Self-Reliance Festival is coming in Camden, Tennessee, June 11th and 12th. June 10th, we're doing a pig processing workshop. Tickets are on sale. They're going really fast. So that's selfreliancefestival.com if you want to come. It's $60 in advance, $75 at the door. I hope to see you there, because we're going to be covering lots of cool stuff. In fact, we are updating the website, but we just pretty much finalized the agenda today. So we have chainsaw demo. We have Jack Spirko talking about developing counter economies. We have a just getting started with being prepared panel. We have Billy Bond talking about how to do, it's called Chicken Tractor on Steroids. It's a way to raise chickens without bringing in a lot of grain from off your homestead, which is great right now because a lot of us are thinking about doing meat birds if we can. John Willis is going to be talking. Ken Berry is going to be talking. We've got a medical center where you can actually learn how to do sutures and stuff. Just, all sorts of cool stuff. We've even got a person showing us how to shoot. Are we shooting real bullets? No, we're shooting pellet guns. But we're going to have a range set up and a demo for that. Patrick Rohrman's going to be there talking about knife sharpening. Carrie's going to talk about how to maintain your homestead tools. A lot, like we've got things from food preservation to more advanced stuff. And I think it's going to be a really good time. Anyway, I hope to see you there. That's selfreliancefestival.com. With that, guys, go out, make it a great week. Okay, I had to do the little pause again so I could edit, guys, on the live feed. Thanks for joining in. And I don't know what John Paul Schmada is saying. You didn't put up a sign. Don't know why. Don't know what that means. Anyway, this one's good. My wife jokes that my hobby is building fences. I feel like Tactical's always building a fence around here. Whenever I get my own homestead instead of renting, outdoor shower is one of the first things going in. Absolutely. And good morning, Idaho Hillbilly. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you jumping on the live stream. I've actually started looking forward to these Friday chats. We'll keep doing them around 9:30 on Friday. I'm just going to try to lock that time in so you know when we're going to be here. And if there's anything I haven't been covering about the homestead, Let me know. Tom says, I do love a good fence. Yeah, I love me a good fence too. But, that idea of putting in temporary fences before putting in final ones that Joel Salatin put out, he's not wrong. It's not fun to move a fence that's more permanent. On the other hand, I think Tactical's redone every fence on this property that was permanent. So that is what it is. Oh, the reason I haven't sold my pork is I haven't put up a sign. Yeah, I absolutely have not put up a sign about my pork because I'm not ready. I've got to weigh it and price it and all that stuff. I haven't done that. So yeah, I should put up an egg sign after the spring workshop and see who wants to do it. Fence repair replacement is our goal this year. Letty, I feel like fence repair and replacement is sort of a lifetime process like laundry. Laundry is never done. You're done with the laundry, and by the next morning, there's more laundry. But that is what it is. Have a great Friday, Martinson family. Okay, guys, I'm going to end the broadcast. Thanks for joining in. Bye.